boxing is full of shit.
So, this might probably be my most unpolished video ever, but it's really not about telling a story or trying to be pretty. It's about me being real, raw, and uncut with you for a second. I still remember the first robbery that I ever witnessed. And up until that point, everything about boxing was positive for me. I was a young kid, discovered the sport, felt like finding a new love. Everything I did was boxing. I lived boxing. I went to the gym. I studied all the great fighters. I watched all the great fighters. And to that point, the best thing in my life was looking forward to the next big fight. And the next big fight was Evander the Real Deal Holyfield versus Lennox Lewis. And they were fighting for undisputed. And it was such a big fight. And Lennox Lewis was fighting for history. And at this time, it was going to be a big deal for a British fighter to come into America and beat the American heavyweight champion. And like everyone else in America, I was rooting for Evander Holyfield. Now, don't get it twisted. I like Lennox Lewis, but everyone around me was rooting for Evander. And, Evander was our guy. He had just beaten Iron Mike Tyson. Everyone knows that Mike was our guy. Evander beat Mike, so naturally Evander becomes the guy, and there's Lennox Lewis. And, at the time, I'm rolling with who everyone else is rolling with. And that's an important distinction to make right now, because at this point, a lot of what people thought about me in my life was very important, because I'm a young kid. And we're rooting for the American fighter, and he's fighting this British guy, and everything they told me about Brits was secondhand information because I didn't know any, and I didn't have enough education and enough resources to learn things for myself. So I watched this fight, and I remember watching this fight. It was a brilliant fight, very similar to Michaela Mayer and Natasha Jonas, in the fact that although Lennox Lewis was dominating the fight, there were stretches where Holyfield had his moments, but not enough to win rounds. It was basically Holyfield was fighting back to stop Lewis from basically annihilating him. And at the end of the fight, when you look at Lennox, you can see that Lennox Lewis, I should say at the end of the fight, you can see that Holyfield took more damage, that Lennox punches were the more effective. You can see on Holyfield the damage, and Lennox looked perfectly fine. Don't get it twisted. Holyfield landed some hellacious shots on Lennox, which goes to show you got to have a chin. And it was a great fight. Hell, by today's heavyweight standards, that fight was a classic, right? But still a one-side dominant fight by Lennox Lewis. Like, you had to know Lennox Lewis won that fight. Then came the decision. And the decision was a draw. And although a draw isn't as bad as a loss, Lennox Lewis deserved to be undisputed. And I knew he wasn't going to be, because of that bad decision. As if the bad decision wasn't bad enough, I looked at the reaction of the people around me. Remember, the Americans rooting for the American. We can't let this Brit come to America and become undisputed champion. And they seemed to be okay with it. In fact, they began to lie to themselves and act like, yeah, Holyfield did enough. Holyfield did enough. And in what world did Holyfield do enough is what I'm thinking to myself. And rather than stand up to the room, remember, I'm also a young kid. I'm young. I don't even know if I was a teenager at the time. I was preteen, early teen. I'm watching and thinking to myself, what in the world is going on here? You saw the same fight I saw. You know who won this fight. But I didn't have the courage in that moment to stand up to everyone because I was worried about what they would think of me. They will call me a traitor. They'll call me a sellout. They'll do whatever. But it didn't sit right with me. I love boxing so much, I never considered the fact that you can work so hard, do everything right, and still not get the decision. It was a new concept to me. Up to that point, I hadn't seen it. Everything about boxing was beautiful up until that point. Once I saw that, I felt helpless. I felt bad for Lennox. Like there was nothing I can do. I didn't have a voice. I didn't have the authority to overturn it. The only thing I could do was hope he got a rematch, which fortunately he did, and he got justice, but there wasn't a need for a rematch. Anyone with eyes knew who the better fighter was watching it the first time. And there's no way an older Evander Holyfield was going to change that.
At ringside, Eugenia Williams scores about 115 to 113 in favor of Evander Holyfield. Judge at ringside, Stanley Christodoulou scores about 116 to 113 in favor of Lennox Lewis. Judge at ringside, Larry O'Connell scores about 115 to 115, even a draw. The decision is even a draw. Both champions retain their belts.
That's a travesty. That is, ladies and gentlemen, a travesty, an outrage, a highway robbery. Lennox Lewis has just been robbed of the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. He won it, and he didn't get it. Boxing is full of shit.
As a kid, I didn't know what to do. I knew in my heart the decision was wrong. I didn't have the courage to go against the people in the room celebrating. So I just sat there feeling bad for Lennox Lewis, hoping that he could make things right in the rematch. But even as I look back on that video, what I'm most proud of is the fact that the fans, the American fans, had the integrity to boo the decision, to show their displeasure, and the fact that Jim Lampley, the legendary Jim Lampley, called it what it was, a travesty. He didn't try to sugarcoat it, and he didn't try to make the American public feel better about what they witnessed.
Boxing is full of shit.
As a man, now when I see a robbery, I do what I feel is right. I do what I feel like I have the power to do. I don't have the biggest platform. No, I have a platform. And regardless of whether I get 2 views or 2 million, as long as I have a platform, I'm going to call out the injustice. And that's something that stuck with me. I felt bad for Lennox. And these aren't the only robberies necessarily that come to mind. There's several. And I mean, I could make a whole video of them, but I'm telling you, the video would never end. And I'm trying to give you a little quick snippet and understanding as to why I don't think a robbery is a laughing matter. Why, if you support a robbery or you think it's a game, you're being disrespectful not only to the fighter who got robbed, but the fighter who was the recipient of that robbery. This isn't a game. You know, boxing's a sport, but it's not a game. And the fighters leave the ring with less of themselves every single time they step into the ring, and I've witnessed it firsthand. So Michaela Mayer takes to Instagram stating that Natasha Jonas' legacy depends on her having a rematch with Michaela Mayer. And the reality is, in America and around the world, maybe. But if you aspire to simply be a hometown hero and your hometown thinks it's okay to boo people's national anthems, which, by the way, let me just remind you that my nephew currently serves in the United States Marines. Shout out to Zombie Ray. And I watch him grow from a little kid to a brave man who fights for his country. And so to see people boo the national anthem, yeah, it hits different with me. My brother Trill Dollar Bill, that's his son. He's on the screen. You think he wants to turn on boxing and see another nation booing the national anthem? His son's a part of the United States Marines. I mean, come on, man. But anyways, if all Natasha Jonas aspires to be is a hometown legend in Liverpool, where they justify ignorance, then so be it. She don't have to fight Michaela Mayer again. But I speak and I use my voice to do what's right.
Boxing is full of shit.
When people can't take the truth, they try to get personal, or they try to downplay your points by, making it a two wrongs make a right type of situation. So this one person made a comment on our video that we made saying that Michaela Mayer was robbed, stating, "Stop bitching. Where was you all when Sandy Ryan won every round against Jessica McCaskill, yet got a draw?" Which I'll be honest with you. I give people the benefit of the doubt because I understand that logic and common sense really isn't common. But first of all, you do have to understand there is a difference between a draw and a defeat, right? So like a draw, a champion would retain their belt. Kind of like Lennox Lewis. I felt bad for Lennox, and he got a draw in America where he got to retain his belt. Even Tyson Fury, when he lost not when he lost, but when he got the draw with Deontay Wilder, they got to keep his belt, right? But you all acting like a draw is the same as an L1, not really. It's still bad, right? But still, you can't compare a draw to a loss, right? When you have a draw, you're still undefeated. Like Tyson Fury is still undefeated. Imagine if in America, though, they would have given Deontay Wilder the victory over Tyson Fury, which, by the way, was it would have been more credible than giving Natasha Jonas the victory on account that Deontay Wilder dropped Tyson Fury twice. And the second time he dropped Tyson Fury in the 12th round, Tyson Fury looked like he was out cold. Jack Reese could have waved it off and nobody would have questioned him. But he still gave Tyson Fury the benefit of the doubt, was still fair, still gave him a chance to get up, right? And in my opinion, Tyson Fury still won that fight, which I took to Twitter, social media, and every platform to scream from the mountaintops. I think Tyson Fury won and he should be champion right now. But getting back to this comment from, I guess, this person who thought they were doing something, says, Sandy Ryan won every round against Jessica McCaskill, yet got a draw. Two of the judges should have been strung up. Oh, there we go. Trying to elicit some reaction from me saying the judges should have been strung up. Well, if you're from America, if you're familiar with lynching, right, and all types of things, like these little subtle comments, they don't just make these out of nowhere. Like I even saw a comment I had to address where someone was saying, you know it's bad when black channels are saying that the white girl got robbed, and I had to address this person like, what are you talking about? As if, we all think alike and act alike because we share the same color skin. We're individuals. And, just because a channel features a black person doesn't make it a black channel. But I don't want to preach on y'all because, people start getting their feelings like this person in the comment section. But the point I'm making is, strung up, that was intentional. But no comment from you all. Put your own house in order before commenting on others. Geez. Guess this post will get deleted. But if you have any moral backbone, you will reply. So he assumes out of the gate that he's like, he or she, I should say. I don't want to just assume that this is, but they assume that they're knocking it out the park. Like, oh, they put us in our place. We're about to have to delete this tweet. You have to delete this comment. We don't want anyone to see this because they got us. They got us in their mind because they would automatically give the benefit of the doubt to the person from their country, or because they play the race element, they think we automatically do that. Projecting, right? So, of course, we hit them with the evidence. When we hit them with the evidence, they don't respond. As you can see, Trill says, now if you have any moral backbone, you would apologize. Where's the apology? Because this person thought they were putting us in our place, but in actuality, they were just making themselves look stupid.
I watched this fight, and I didn't see no round, maybe one, that I can give to Jessica McCaskill. I thought that Sandy Ryan beat her every round. I thought it was clear. It was decisive. It was going to be a unanimous decision that Miss Ryan's won.
Boxing is full of shit.
This isn't the first time this happened. I've seen it happen several times in America. See, I don't know about other places, but in America, we call it like it is, bruh. We don't play those games. And you saw in a crowd full of Americans, we saw what we saw, and we saw the injustice, and we booed it on the spot in front of McCaskill, in front of the judges, in front of anyone who had anything to do with it. And what was dope, and this is what I like about boxing, this is what I like about sports, but this is what I like about boxing in general, is you saw it was a room full of diverse people of all backgrounds, because you have Zepeda, who's Mexican, you have Hitchens, who's black and who's Haitian, and you have all types of people from different backgrounds in that crowd. We have white people in there as well. Yeah, and everyone came together and said, I saw what I saw, and this is wrong. That's what makes boxing great.
Boxing is full of shit.
Needless to say, the evidence was right there that we called out the injustice. We called out the bad judging in the United States of America, and flat out said the one thing we appreciate is how our fans will boo the judges and everyone and let them know that it's BS. So if Americans will boo a bad decision in front of the fighters, in front of the judges, in front of the promotional companies, why won't we speak out on a bad decision that takes place in the UK? We will. Because that's what we do. You know, there's so many misrepresentations about Americans, and you know, people always want to talk trash about Americans, but the one thing that I will say is we like fairness in our sports. And just because someone came out of whatever, however they enter this earth, you know, there's so many ways to enter this earth now. But however they got here, just because it was on American soil, don't mean that we rocking with you. You know, you can look at Deontay Wilder as an example of that. We call it like it is. And so we call it like it is, and we put the pressure on them. And I don't want to say that UK fans aren't like that either, because there's so many UK fans that are like that. And that's what made me appreciate the UK and the UK's love for boxing. And those UK fans that are just like us and here in America give me hope that we can clean up this sport of boxing. Because it was actually the UK fans in the UK who started crying, this is robbery. We're not buying your fake storyline. Skybox, we know what happened. You're not tricking us. That made Sky Sports Boxing have to retract, and try to clean up what you saw. Think I'm lying?
Boxing is full of shit.
Because of all of you wonderful fans from the UK who saw the injustice that I saw when I was younger, and I watched Lennox Lewis get robbed of the opportunity to be undisputed champion, and took to Twitter, saw Sky Sports post something and said, Sky Sports, I'm not buying this coronation you're trying to give Natasha Jonas. You're acting like I didn't watch her lose. I saw so many comments. It was overwhelming in the comment section, but it was because the UK fans stood up, had the courage to do what I couldn't do when I was a kid. I had to become a man to do it, trust me, because it takes a lot to do what you fans did in the UK. But because you stood up, now Johnny Nelson's making a video every hour trying to explain how Natasha Jonas won. Pretty soon, they're going to have poor Johnny have to make a round by round, video explaining why you should have scored a round for Natasha Jonas based on some artificial intelligence AI editing clip. This footage might get scrubbed from the internet. I'm telling you, it's crazy. But it's all because you stood up. See, I couldn't do nothing by myself to change anything. But with social media, the ability for us to see that there's like-minded individuals out there, you can. See, the only reason I didn't say anything is because it was me in a room full of a bunch of people who were happy that Holyfield got a decision. But if I can look on my phone and see that there were millions of people in the UK screaming robbery, maybe I would have felt empowered to scream robbery. If I could look at my phone and see that, okay, I'm the only one in this room screaming robbery, but there are millions of people in the United States of America screaming robbery too, then maybe I would have gotten the courage. And that's why it's important for me to speak the truth. If you go back when I said I'm keeping it uncut real, this is one of them instances where I can't sugarcoat it. That was why. In some cases you can sugarcoat it. You can say, oh, it was a close fight that could have gone either way. Although it really was like a 2 or 3 round victory for the victor. But in this case, I had to keep it real. I couldn't sugarcoat it. Me sugarcoating it would have been an injustice. Because it would have been enough for Johnny Nelson to come out there and try to trick people. No, I got to let people know, if you saw it like this, that's the way I saw it too. And we're not crazy. We're not crazy. So yeah, the fact that they even came out retracting proves what we were saying. So salute to everyone. Salute to everyone. And it's really from the UK. It took the people from the UK to speak up and say, look, we're not buying this. We're not buying this. So although the national anthem got booed, and although Michaela Mayer didn't get the decision, I know that she went on social media and saw all the love she got, and that made up for everything from the UK crowd. So, not that it matters much, but the fact that I saw that gives me hope for boxing. Because at first watching it, I'm being just honest, as someone who been following the sport, it just felt like if you walk into an environment where they're booing your national anthem and you dominate a fight and you don't get the decision and the fans still cheer the decision, what can you do? At least in Lennox Lewis' case, he heard the boos. He knew the crowd does not agree with this decision. At least in Sandy Ryan's case, she heard the boos. She knew the crowd didn't agree with the decision. Imagine how hostile that environment had to be for Michaela Mayer, and she still had to be classy. Dude really had the audacity to ask Michaela Mayer, did you feel like you belonged in the ring with Natasha Jonas? It couldn't have been me. I would have been like, mother effer, I beat the ish out of Natasha Jonas. You should be asking, did she deserve to share the ring with me?
Boxing is full of shit.
And I'm not going to say that it was a robbery, because I don't think it was. It was one of them that if Michaela Mayer would have got her hand held high, you'd have said, okay, fair enough.
Boxing is full of shit.
I saw Carl Froch say that he wasn't going to call it a robbery. And I thought, how convenient. Because we're still talking about a young Caden here. And I remember Andre Dirrell. He used to be one of my favorite fighters. He was extremely athletic, gifted, and when they announced the Super 6 tournament and they stated that Andre Dirrell was going to be in the Super 6 tournament with Andre Ward, I thought, man, those guys are going to clean up. And of course, Andre Ward ended up winning the tournament, as we all know. But what happened to Andre Dirrell was outright criminal, and it ruined his career. So, as you can see, these are highlights, by the way. So anytime that you're looking at highlights, you should watch the entire fight, because highlights don't tell the entire story. And people putting together highlights pick and choose what they want to show you from each round. But I can attest to you, as someone who watched this fight, and just giving you my honest word, Froch really didn't land anything. And if you actually listen to the commentary, they kind of admit that as well at points. But this fight, I remember watching it live and just looking at the athleticism of Dirrell and how he made Froch look silly. And Froch was able to get to him in some of the later rounds and make it interesting once Dirrell started to slow down a bit. But I feel like Dirrell always had an answer. When Froch came, Dirrell would always land a big straight right. He was landing powerful jabs. If you just watch the fight and you see how good Dirrell was, how athletic he was, sharp his punches was, his reflexes, how quick. And you even see Froch trying to hit behind the head. Froch was desperate in there. He was using all types of roughhouse tactics. It was clear as day he got outclassed. And I just remember watching this thinking, man, Dirrell is phenomenal. I was watching this. I was thinking I was watching a masterpiece from Dirrell. I was thinking Andre Dirrell was announcing himself to the world. You saw Andre Dirrell lose a point for holding there, which to me was absolute BS, baloney, bogus. And, so they did everything they could to help Froch. And as you saw, Froch just got rocked and wobbled right there. And you see Dirrell coming on strong. Listen, Froch got beat. And so, of course, he doesn't want to call it a robbery because he probably thinks of the robbery he received in Nottingham. So, they used to call this the robbery in Nottingham, where I'm from. So, you see Froch missing, hammer fisting like Deontay Wilder against Joseph Parker at times. Like, come on, bang, got caught with a massive left hook. So sometimes when you hear your favorite fighter saying certain things, you just got to know there may be an agenda. And I'll be honest with you, man, Froch got beat. And to me, this was a huge robbery because it sent Andre Dirrell in a downward spiral. Because after this fight, Andre Dirrell had to take on an extremely tough opponent, and he would have had an easier fight had he got the decision.
Got a hometown decision, and that the only reason that you won is because we're here in Nottingham. And that the only reason that you won is because we're here in Nottingham. And that the only reason that you won is because we're here in Nottingham.
Boxing is full of shit.
After the robbery to Carl Froch, Andre Dirrell had to face one of the tournament favorites, hard-hitting Arthur Abraham. This guy was a powerhouse. Think of Triple G before Triple G, especially the way he was being promoted. And Andre Dirrell, fortunately, had the fight in Detroit at least. And as you can see, Andre Dirrell was using his skills to frustrate and overwhelm Arthur Abraham, who was known to really have the high guard. Once you slow down, he landed a powerful shot like the one you saw there. But for the most part, Dirrell was doing good work, utilizing his athleticism, stiff jab, movement, powerful straight right hand. You saw he dropped Arthur Abraham there. It was a good punch, but Arthur Abraham was off balance as well. So it wasn't like Arthur Abraham was terribly hurt by the punch, but still was a good shot. As you can see, Dirrell had good footwork. He had heart. He stood in there when it was time. He took some solid punches from Abraham, who's a power puncher. Abraham started to increase his work output and the pressure, and he was getting closer to Dirrell. So the fight was heating up, and Dirrell was going to have to show what he was made of, and that's where things got, messed up. You saw Dirrell slip. Dirrell was on the floor, and Abraham hits him with a clean hook while he's on the floor. Now, some people felt like Andre Dirrell embellished a little bit. Some people feel like it was a delayed reaction to the hook and he started trembling. But the one thing I will say is this scene right here after everything is what made me feel like it was legit, because he was disgruntled. He seemed disoriented. He was out of it. And most importantly, he was never the same after that fight.
Boxing is full of shit.
In 2017, Andre Dirrell's misfortune would reach an all-time high when he was hit after the bell.
Another late shot that dropped Dirrell after the bell.
Years of misfortune and witnessing Andre Dirrell be robbed or fouled by fighters his uncle Boy the Great stepped into the ring and took matters into his own hands. Now, the media would try to portray him as a thug, but for years, he watched his nephew's promising career be derailed by poor decisions and fouls.
Boxing is full of shit.
Manny Pacquiao's meeting with American Timothy Bradley in June of 2012 did not go as planned. Pacquiao would box brilliantly, beating Bradley to the punch on nearly every occasion. In 12 rounds of action, Bradley achieved nothing noteworthy and was frequently left confused as to how to deal with Pacquiao's style of boxing. Pacquiao, however, lost a split decision to Bradley in one of the most controversial fights in recent memory. Even Tim Bradley stated that he would have to view the footage after being questioned following the fight.
To the winner by split decision and new WBO welterweight champion of the world, the Desert Storm, Bradley!
And I think that is a terrible, bogus decision.
Boxing is full of shit.
Even as a grown man and one who felt like I understood the sport of boxing, it's still possible to be swayed by public opinion and commentary. Upon the first live review of Timothy Bradley versus Manny Pacquiao, like many others, I felt like it was a robbery. However, it wasn't until I watched the fight again and turned down the commentary and actually took note of what I thought was landing, what wasn't landing, and what was effective that I realized the fight was actually much closer than everyone was saying and I originally thought. And if I was being honest with myself, it was actually possible that Timothy Bradley won. Well, unfortunately, by the time I had done that, I had already told everyone it was a robbery, the worst decision I ever seen. I was going off emotion. I was going off of what I heard everyone else said. So many pundits that I respected. This was a moment where I had to reflect and actually check myself. It wasn't what I wanted. I wanted Mayweather versus Pacquiao. Timothy Bradley beating Manny Pacquiao. It ruined everything. It wasn't what I wanted to accept. I needed to see Mayweather Pacquiao, so perhaps that played a role in how much I was unwilling to accept what I actually saw take place in that ring. However, upon reflection, I realized that the commentators lie. They push agendas. They hype people up. They do that because, like I said, there's a overall goal they're looking to achieve. And in this case, it was a close fight. In any close fight, they felt like should have gone to Manny Pacquiao because, of course, Mayweather Pacquiao's looming. But Timothy Bradley actually getting a decision in which some people felt like he deserved, and I'll be honest, upon reflection, I see how you can score this fight for Timothy Bradley. Him getting the decision and people simply not liking it forced this man to consider taking his life. It changed Timothy Bradley. It changed the way he viewed boxing. Timothy Bradley used to be a slick, smooth boxer with amazing reflexes. He went out slugging in a fight he didn't have to slug in. So when you talk about the impact of decisions, bad decisions, and how things can be perceived, like I said, sometimes it's better to do the right thing. And even if the public doesn't agree with the right thing, it can still create immense amounts of pressure. So, in the end, what I would say, not to say that this is the end, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but in the end, what I would say is stick to your guns, stick to what you believe, but always be willing to concede that we're still learning and we don't know everything. And this fight taught me that. So before I say anything, if I'm going to call some a robbery, I'm going to review it again. I'm going to double check. I'm going to look to see, because this fight could have gone either way, so therefore it's not a robbery. But the perception of it being a robbery, I believe, ruined Timothy Bradley. And he was never the same after what should have been the greatest moment of his career.
All eyes on Pacquiao to see if he's ready for the fight or if he has been diminished by his personal transformation, as so many seem to be thinking is the case. Body shot for Pacquiao. Two big pops for Pacquiao.
They're the best punches of the fight.
And another straight left hand. I told you to watch for the straight left hand. He landed 3 booms in the last 30 seconds. That was the punch that launched Manny Pacquiao's brilliant career, the straight left hand. And it bailed him out in a round that it appeared he was not winning. He landed 3 of them. Bradley was holding and hitting. There's another good left hand by Pacquiao. This time he swept it to get it around Bradley's guard.
Bradley did a little better job of that time of getting his glove in the way.
Calves to loosen up. Another left hand for Pacquiao. Bradley still has not demonstrated that he can stop Manny Pacquiao's straight left hand. Straight left hand lands for Pacquiao again. The straight left hand has been everything for him.
And Bradley said he was concentrating on taking the left hand away from Pacquiao.
And he hasn't done it. That was another straight left hand on the chin.
Fast punches, but no power.
Pacquiao's punches move Bradley. Pacquiao's punches move Bradley. Right hand landed for Pacquiao that time. Bradley gets him back with a left hook. Pacquiao gets him with a straight left. And the way Bradley put his tongue out and mugged, you know that Pacquiao is bothering him with a straight left hand. Right hand landed for Pacquiao that time. Pacquiao gets him with a straight left. And the way Bradley put his tongue out and mugged, you know that Pacquiao is bothering him with a straight left hand.
Jim, let me tell you something that I've observed in this fight, and that is Timothy Bradley doesn't move his head. He doesn't move his head. And Manny can't miss it with the left hand. Watch Pacquiao's head. Pacquiao bobs, he weaves, he's always moving his head. Never stops moving his head. Bradley puts his head straight up, leaves it there. Pacquiao nails him with a left. 3-0, Manny Pacquiao.
Pacquiao trying uppercuts with the left hand. Now comes across the top, lands it again. Pacquiao trying uppercuts with the left hand. Now comes across the top, lands it again. Gets it a little left inside. By Pacquiao as Bradley was landing a body shot. Probably. Boom, another left hand.
Hard up.
Pacquiao just playing. Relax. I am surprised that Manny has been able to land his left hand as easy as he has been with Bradley.
And now more retreating for Bradley. Pacquiao got in another couple shots. Couple shots. Gets Bradley against the ropes and hits him 3 times with the left hand. Gets Bradley.
Here you see Manny's got Bradley in the corner, just landing a lot of punches.
Nothing, 60-54, Manny Pacquiao. Jim, you can't take it away from a guy that comes over and smiles at the announcers. But anyway, Manny Pacquiao did tremendous damage with that hard left hand. I mean, he just nails him with that left hand. And that's been the absolute determining factor in each and every one of these rounds. I mean,
maybe one of the judges could have found a round here or there to give to Bradley, but so far it's been pretty close to a shutout for Manny Pacquiao, or so it appears to us. Pacquiao has a smile on his face. Perhaps indeed Bradley hurt him. But now Pacquiao drives him back again with a straight left hand. Face, perhaps in... But now Pacquiao drives him back again with a straight left hand. Scoring prize fights is not all that easy. That shot was blocked. Pacquiao's gloves carefully guarding his face. And there he goes.
Both guys are
right down the middle through the guard. What?
Both guys are blocking very well.
Yep.
he still does too much damage in each and every round with that straight left hand. I mean, the guy, he just can't seem to miss Timothy Bradley's jaw.
Straight left hand for Pacquiao. Straight left hand for Pacquiao. Right hook by Pacquiao. Left hand by Pacquiao. Right hook by Pacquiao. Left hand by Pacquiao. By Pacquiao. By Pacquiao. By Pacquiao.
And he's getting close with those home run left hands.
Pacquiao. 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 Yes, he is. But another good round for Manny Pacquiao, who's landed several hard power shots.
He doesn't have the power. You know, Manny's punches have about twice as much power.
Yeah.
Manny punches good with range. He gets good leverage when he punches in. And Bradley's trying to shorten it up and take that leverage away where he don't have such a chance to warm up. I mean, to stretch those shots out.
Bradley really slapping with the hook in order to land it just then.
Manny doesn't respect the power of Bradley. You can see it in his face now.
To land it just then.
Dominate Mark. Here's the last fight.
A faulty prediction as well.
Balances left foot.
Even when the other guy seemed
appeared, he was arm clamped over Pacquiao.
He better do a better job than that. Is better do a better job than that as this fight.
Head ended, and then
more power, but the main thing to move his head at, which is bending slightly to his right.
As Bradley was landing a body shot.
No, he doesn't have the power. Manny doesn't respect the power of Bradley. Yeah, especially not being a big puncher. As easy as he has been tonight than I expected.
Manny seems to be taking the first 2 minutes off. Media people here, ringside experts who seemed convinced that Pacquiao wasn't going to be a great fighter tonight.
Cat and mouse. With
Pacquiao's landing more punches.
He can take the first half of.
And you've heard Joel Diaz in the corner talking to Bradley.
Yeah, was winning competitive contender. The Eastern Conference Finals ended today with the Heat beating the Celtics. But too little, too late.
Even to land solid on Bradley with 2 or 3 punches. Bradley is just born that way. I call it heavy-handed. Just
how about heavy calves? Look at those calves on Pacquiao.
The biggest I've ever saw in proportion.
You know, Timothy Bradley, you got to give him credit. He takes a heck of a punch, but even still, Manny Pacquiao nailing him with too many left hands. 9-0, Manny Pacquiao.
He's taking timing him every time he comes in.
Gets another straight left hand onto Bradley's jaw. 2 big pops for Pacquiao.
The hand speed, but devastating punching power.
At least up to this point. Inaccurate with the jab.
He's
makes
getting
up
out of
for it.
6-0, Manny Pacquiao.
Trying.
Bradley doesn't move his head. Stand in front of me.
And Manny Pacquiao is a terrible eye.
Manny Pacquiao nailing him with too many left hands.
But I still think he punches good. I think Manny still.
I don't think anything will stop Bradley from trying. Exactly. But you can't grow power overnight.
Smiles at us ringside and makes eyes as if to say this is fun. Pacquiao does.
Absolutely right.
Oh, good left uppercut on the inside from Pacquiao.
Great left uppercut.
Through the guard.
It's the power.
22 Bradley. Bradley's trying to fight back.
Well, that's right.
To fight back. To fight back. That left hand landed flush.
I don't get the feeling that Bradley's really coming close to winning these rounds.
And I just fought hard all the way to the end. And then afterwards, my corner, my coach at the time was Joel Diaz. He said, hey, we won this fight. Pick them up. We won this fight. And, you know, I was like, we did. We won this fight. I fought hard all the way through the fight. I gave him a great challenge. And, you know, after the decision, that's when all hell broke loose. And it was like I was ridiculed. I was, drugged through just like the mud. People laughed at me. People were telling me to give back the belt, that I lost the fight, and I just couldn't understand, like, what did I do wrong? I didn't do anything. I fought my fight. I fought as hard as I possibly can, and the judges felt that I won the fight. What's the problem? What's going on? And I mean, when you got people like Miley Cyrus that was, commenting on it, governors are in different places, states are commenting on the fight and saying that I need to give the belt back. It's a disgrace to boxing. It's the worst decision in the history of boxing. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. I could not believe what was going on.
Well, first of all, no disrespect to Miley Cyrus, but did that really affect you?
You know what? It did. It really did.
Miley Cyrus?
No, it's just the fact that, like, I'm like, what do you know about boxing?
Right.
Why are you even commenting? And the fact that it got so much attention, so much exposure, and it kind of like, went viral all around the world, and when you have everybody against you, and, it definitely affects you, because I felt like I didn't do anything wrong.
What was the hardest thing that you had to hear during that time?
That I was a fake champion, that I didn't deserve to be a champion, that I'm not a true fighter, that I'm not a real fighter. Death threats were sent to my home, which is, now that I think about it, it's like really? Like, why? And the fact that, I had to walk around and people were like, whispering, he didn't win, and just whispering nasty things to me. And I had to deal with that, and it's just something like, you work for something your whole life and you finally get to that point and then you accomplish your goal and then everybody take it all away from you. Like, it just feels like death. It honestly felt like death. And I felt like literally like taking my own life.
It was that bad? It
was that bad. It was me against the world. It was my family, it was my wife, it was my kids against the world. Like, so many people turned their back on me. They turned their back on my family.
I'm just a fan of boxing, so I don't understand why anyone would feel that passionately that you shouldn't have won, that they would do that.
Well, Manny Pacquiao was an icon.
Do you think it was like his fan base that really led the pack?
He's an icon.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like Michael Jordan, in the boxing world. And, people respected him and they just, they wanted him to win. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people lost a lot of money, on the decision. And, he was supposed to beat me. But, people shouldn't behave like that. But that's just the norm. Once
that's not the norm.
It's the norm. This is the norm. People are followers. There's not a whole lot of leaders. There was a few ringside reporters, a few people calling the fight felt that I won the fight. And those were like real men standing up and saying like, no, he won the fight. But it was only a little bit of them. It was only a little pocket of them, that were, defending me.
Yeah.
But the rest of the world kind of just follows what everybody else thinks. Whether they know something about boxing or not. Miley Cyrus don't know anything about boxing. You know what I'm saying? So it's just that everybody, a lot of people are just followers and they tend to just bully and pick and, you're on social media that no one can see you. No one can see you. So people say terrible things.
They do.
And I had to deal with that. And I would listen to that and I would absorb all of that. At that time, I had no clue. But I would hear these things, I would listen to these things, and it affected me, like drastically, to a point to where, like I said, I wanted to commit suicide. I didn't want to live anymore.
It was that.
I didn't want to fight anymore.
Timothy Bradley can sometimes be honest to a fault, even when what he's saying makes him look crazy and is cringeworthy. But I genuinely believe what he said because he committed suicide in the ring. From round one, he decided to slug it out with Ruslan Provodnikov, a man who was known for being a devastated puncher. Look at Timothy. He stuck in from round one. He's so athletically gifted. One of the most athletically gifted fighters we've ever seen. And look at him get rocked in the first round, dropped. Look at him. But Timothy Bradley has so much heart. He gets back up and he fights. Timothy Bradley, I can't even begin to tell you. I don't know how he survived the first 4 rounds of this fight. Look at that massive overhand right. And here it is in the second round. You see Bradley still trying to slug it out with Provodnikov. And he's still hurt. And instead of using his legs, his legs still seem somewhat steady, but rather than utilize the boxing skills that he showed against Manny Pacquiao. He wants to take the punishment. He wants to fight. He's in there battling. And because you know it's Timothy Bradley and you know what type of shape he was in back then, I know some of you see him now and you forget the type of specimen he was, but like, look at him. Look at the punishment he's taking. It's like he wants to be in a war. He wants to prove something. Boxing and just winning with skill wouldn't have done for him. Look at him. Look at him. And that's what I mean. When he says he didn't want to fight anymore, and it just shows in this fight. It was like he was trying to decide what he wanted to do in this fight. Like, he was going to get knocked out in this fight. He was going to commit suicide in the ring, or the fighter in him was just going to kick in. And you just see the will in Timothy Bradley. I don't know how many people survive those 2 rounds. And then you see the 3rd round. Look at him. Again, back out there. Just for the fight. You know, when people talk about willing to die in the ring, Timothy Bradley, I believe, was willing to die in the ring on this night. That's why, like, no matter how ridiculous what Timothy Bradley says, or how ridiculous he sounds during the broadcast, I give him the utmost. Because, one, I know that, you know, in many ways, me not being honest and saying, you know what, I don't think Timothy Bradley beating Manny Pacquiao in that first fight was a robbery out loud contributed to this. I was silent even as a grown man. And because of that, this guy is in this ring basically in a dogfight trying to prove something. And you can see it. Look at him. Think about where Bradley was in the first 2 rounds and look at him now. I mean, the will, the guts. He was never the same after this fight. Obviously, this was his last stand in boxing, but it's like he made up his mind that night. That's what it was going to be. He was going to get his respect by beating this guy everyone thought was indestructible, Ruslan Provodnikov. He was going to beat this guy who everyone thought was a power puncher, a knockout artist. He was going to take it to the knockout artist. And in doing so, he took the most punishment I've ever seen him take. Even Manny Pacquiao didn't give this type of punishment to Timothy Bradley. And you just watch. Like, look at him on the ropes, just done, and just refuses to give in. Look at those punches, man. I feel like I don't know how many fighters can stand and take that. Look at Tim. Look at him. He wanted that type of fight. Like, it's amazing. And, you know, some people talk, like I said, Timothy Bradley, honest to a fault. Sometimes, like, to a fault means exactly that. Like, sometimes it's like, it'd have been better for you not to say anything. And you watch this performance. And you see the punches that he had to endure from a man who's known as a vicious puncher, Provodnikov, in his time. And you see Bradley just going forward, breaking the will of a man who dropped him in the first 2 rounds and looked like he was about to have Bradley leaving in a stretcher. That's the type of guy Timothy Bradley was. That's why for people to question his Hall of Fame credentials, to me, is crazy. And I think to some extent that plays a role in the type of person he is today. And I think that's why he really didn't want to get too involved with the robbery talks with Michaela Mayer and Natasha Jonas. And I think that's why he kind of sometimes goes overboard. He sympathizes with the person who may have gotten a bad decision, the winner of a bad decision, because he puts himself in their shoes and he thinks of the tweets they're going to get, the ridicule they're going to get. And even look at him, stumbles back in the 12th round, 50 seconds left. just all guts and heart. Look at that. This guy. Too tough, too rugged, and he has something to prove. Huh. Man. What a fight. Timothy Bradley. Presence of mind to know the time, take the count. Man, look at him. He's done. And that was a hell of a fight.
The level of mutual respect has to be going through the roof. And started the big rally in round 12. There's the left hook that knocked Bradley into the other ropes. And in both of those instances, the referee had the option of ruling that the ropes had kept Bradley up. And then eventually Bradley's knee went to the canvas.
All three in favor of the winner by way of unanimous decision. And still, WBO welterweight champion of the world, Desert Storm, Timothy Bradley.
Boxing is full of shit.
Boxing is a subjective sport, and without more definitive criteria, it's easy for people to have different opinions and different views on who won the fight. But what I genuinely believe is when most of the public believes that one fighter is the winner, you have to lend credence to that. And that's why Timothy Bradley had to rematch Manny Pacquiao, and they fought 3 times. That's why Evander the Real Deal Holyfield had to fight Lennox Lewis again and get that work again. And that's why I believe Natasha Jonas needs to fight Michaela Mayer again, because the whispers and the looming shadow of doubt that everyone's going to have if she doesn't rematch Michaela Mayer and beat her on the up and up is going to be bigger than the joy she would feel. Because as of right now, I know she's probably experiencing something similar to what Timothy Bradley experienced. Although, make no mistake, I watched the fight 3 times, and I have it 8-2, and at best, it's 7-3 for Michaela Mayer. And I think it was a decisive victory, just like I feel like Lennox Lewis had a decisive victory over Evander Holyfield in the first time. However, I added the Timothy Bradley story to show why Timothy Bradley sometimes is too timid, doesn't stand on business the way he should, and is afraid to criticize bad decisions, similar to Carl Froch. Trust me, this video is long as hell. I almost didn't release it, but I said, hell, I put the work in. Like, I'm not chopping it up and making part 1, part 2, whatever. You can watch it or not, but I just figured it was on my mind and I had the time, so I would make it. But trust me, if I put in every single robbery and gave you the trajectory of the careers and how it negatively impacted the fighter who didn't get the decision, as well as the fighter who did get decision, you would see that uncertainty and controversy like this isn't always good for the fighters. The reality is, bad decisions kill boxers.
You said the deck was stacked against you. It came as no great surprise that you were on the short end of the decision. Give us your thoughts.
Hey, man, first of all, how'd you guys score it?
Ringside, Harold Letterman had it 7 rounds to 5. I thought that was about right, but I thought it was competitive.
7-5 me, right?
Yes, Harold did have that.
Thank you, man. At least some people got the score right. Listen, I don't know why Houston is booing me. You guys are a great fight town, man. I didn't have nothing wrong, nothing against Houston, man. It's a great fight town. You guys were a loud crowd. It ain't nothing against you guys, man, but I had to deal with a lot of politics, man. That was ridiculous. I knew I was going to have to deal with this. You know, you got guys like Raul Kais. That's Golden Boy's gopher. I said it before, and he was. And he actually had the closest scorecard, man. I'm telling you, this state never gives a fair shake to anybody coming to this state to fight hometown fighters. It never happens. All the way back to
okay.
Chavez. It never happens.
Putting the decision aside, again, that comes as no great shock that a Malignaggi,
but it's not right.
That a Malignaggi Diaz fight goes the distance. that it's a fun fight to watch and competitive, and that Malignaggi doesn't get the decision in Texas against Diaz. Putting that aside for a moment, assess the fight. What do you think about the fight itself?
I thought I edged it out. I thought I outboxed him. But, man, Juan is a great warrior. I expected that from Juan, though. I knew he was going to come to fight. I knew he was going to come to throw down. I knew he was going to throw punches. The ring was small, so I couldn't always move because he was going to get to me, you know. So I had to break it up between smothering and man moving. But Juan showed his heart, man. He came to try to win every round. I think at the end we were both trying our hardest with our own styles. I was backing up boxing. He was trying to bring it. We were both going for our strengths to pull out the last rounds, and I think we both needed. We knew them. We both knew we needed them. And I thought I pulled them out. I thought I outboxed the aggressor in the last rounds.
Paulie, assuming you don't get a rematch for a second.
You know I ain't getting a rematch, man. This is boxing. Boxing is full of shit, man. I used to love this sport. I used to love this sport, man. I cannot stand doing this. The only reason I do this is because it gives me a good payday. Boxing is full of shit.
Paulie, assuming you don't get the rematch, you here have reestablished yourself on a world-class level. What would you want next?
Listen, anything that comes my way. I mean, I'm just an opponent after losing the fight. One can go call out the winner of Marquez and Mayweather or the winner of another big fight. I don't have that luxury because I got robbed, so I'm on the short end of the stick. So I got to sit back and hope I get used as an opponent in somebody's hometown again. This is the bullshit I got to go through.
Paulie, congratulations on a tremendous performance and an excellent fight. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Thank you, Juan. Houston, congratulations. You guys are a great fight town. Juan Diaz, the warrior. You guys got a great hometown warrior. But I won this fight.